Hey Hue fans, welcome back to the channel. I have an extra special treat today. I interviewed George Yianni. He's the co-founder and head of tech at Philips Hue. I got down to the bottom of how to connect multiple bridges to voice assistants, what they're working on for the future, and some extra special treats. Here it is.
Hey Justin, good to see you.
You too. Thank you so much for meeting with me. I really appreciate it. I just want to start off by saying I love your products. They light up my entire home. They light up all of my friends' homes now, and they also light up all of my subscribers' homes. With the Hue Strip announcement video, I had asked you a question about the Hue Bridge, and I got lots of questions from them and even from myself. So basically, I had asked you about connecting multiple bridges to voice assistants like Amazon. I have to say that quietly. And Google Home. You had said that what you want to do with multiple bridges is create multiple accounts and then link the hubs to each account. I just wanted to ask for more clarification on that. Currently at our smart home, we're using SmartThings as a way to connect a hub and then also Amazon to connect another one. But with that, we don't get all of the scenes ingested in. So I was wondering if you could give us more clarification for each voice assistant.
Yeah, so I actually tried this out last night just to make sure I wasn't imagining things. And it is indeed possible with Google Assistant and HomeKit. It is not possible with Alexa today to have multiple bridges on one Alexa smart speaker. The way it works with Google, right, is not the way it should work in the end, right? So this is something that we have in our plans to address to make easier. But it is possible today, and the way you do it is you create two separate Google Assistant accounts, each linked to their own bridge, and then what you can do is you can invite your other account to your home. And as soon as you do that, all of the devices, scenes, lamps, rooms from both bridges get brought together, and you can control them both from a single Google Home, or multiple Google Homes if you have in your house. In HomeKit, it's more intuitive, right? You just pair multiple bridges and it just adds them together.
For Amazon devices, there is a workaround to connect multiple bridges, but it's not an ideal solution. Here's how. First, you'll need each Hue bridge connected to their own Meet Hue account. They already require separate accounts for out-of-home control. Next, set up the first hub by connecting the Philips Hue skill with that hub's account. Discover devices, and make sure everything works. Then you'll need to disable the Hue skill. It will seem like you're deleting everything, but don't worry, all your Hue devices will remain. Then enable the skill again, but this time log in with the next bridge's Hue account. Discover the devices, and if you made sure out-of-home control is on and linked for both bridges, everything should be functional. For a third bridge, just repeat. Now make sure when you do this that the final bridge you connect will be the bridge that you add new lights to. Otherwise, you'll need to start all over again, which isn't fun. Unfortunately, only scenes from the last bridge connected will be accessible through a... Again, this is a workaround, and George says they are working to fix it.
We want to make this easier, right? And so in the midterm, the plan is to enable you to have multiple bridges inside a Hue account. Right, which would make this much more intuitive, right? You would just pair your account towards Alexa or Google, and then all of the bridges could be made available. That's not something you can do today, so you have to use these non-ideal workarounds.
Is this something that Google and Amazon need to do on their end and work on their software to allow for more bridges, or is this up to Hue?
There is a limitation on the Google Amazon side, which is you are not allowed multiple copies of the same skill. That would solve the problem. But it is something that we can solve on our side by letting you have multiple bridges in one Hue account. And I actually think that's a more intuitive solution for consumers. So yeah, we're going to take action to solve it ourselves.
When can people expect to be able to easily connect their multiple bridges to voice assistants?
I'm not going to give you a timeline, right? So we tend not to share those things far in advance. It is something that we've heard from our fans like you. So it is on our radar. It's something that we want to tackle, and it's fairly high up the list. So
that's great to hear. Okay, and then you kind of touched upon this, but Apple HomeKit is able to handle multiple bridges, and so can apps like iConnect Hue. Do you know exactly what's going on there to allow those to do that?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. I mean, basically they're apps. So I Connect Hue, it just talks to both bridges, right? So if it has a light bulb it wants to turn on bridge one, it sends a command to bridge one. A light bulb on bridge two, it sends a command to bridge two. In HomeKit, it's actually the same, right? It just sends HomeKit commands to both bridges, and they're just different devices for it. We've not decided to do that in our apps at this point because there are some unintuitive things about that, because really it's two separate universes. You can't easily move a light to a room on bridge B if it's in bridge A. You can't have an accessory in bridge B trigger a room on bridge A. And we find that a confusing user experience. And so that's why we don't support it. We find it a much clearer experience for consumers to ask them to switch bridge, and everything within that bridge is consistent. Solving it so that they're really merged, that is a very complicated problem that maybe one day we will solve, but it's very difficult to solve all those corner cases. And in the end, the vast majority of Hue consumers, they have their home nicely separated if they have multiple bridges at all, so that it's not so bad to just say, okay, now I'm here, I use this version of bridge. We'll make the switching easier than it is now, but we think this is a clearer solution, because there's a lot of corner cases of I Connect Hue and HomeKit because of the way they partially merge.
Why does a Hue Bridge have a limit of around 50 bulbs?
It's actually all to do with how reliably you can talk to them. Right? So Hue, unlike other technologies, is a mesh network. So that means every light bulb can kind of repeat the signal for the other light bulbs, which is why it's super easy to get reliable coverage over your whole home. Every bulb is a repeater. But in order to do that, right, every light bulb has to be listening and able to retransmit every message. Right? And if you have too many bulbs inside a network, then they start talking over the top of each other, and your reliability drops. Right? And so that's why in our testing, we recommend less than 50, because if you start going above those limits, depending on how they're positioned inside the home, it might become less reliable.
And reliability is huge when it comes to turning on a light. You want your smart home devices to make your life easier, not harder. And what I love about Philips Hue is just it just works. You may pay a little more for them, but you're getting quality products and quality software.
No one should forget that you're buying a smart version of a product. It's more expensive than the dumb version. So it needs to be better. And if it's not better at the fundamentals of how reliably it turns on or how fast it turns on, then it's not a good purchase, right? So you have to get those things right first before you start talking about the additional things that you can do.
And then I get this question a lot. Will we perhaps get a Hue Hub Pro version that can control way more than 50 lights?
So I think the Zigbee mesh network scalability problem, that's a hard thing to solve. I don't think making a new hardware would really solve that. So there's no concrete plans at this point about making a next generation bridge or a pro version of the bridge. I think there are things that we can do to make dealing with multiple bridges a better user experience without the need for new hardware that we want to tackle first. I can't rule it out for the future, but no firm plans to share yet.
And then also the European lights of Philips Hue, a lot of them we don't get in the US, and they're really awesome. They're really modern. And the limited edition Iris, we don't have it in the US. I got the white one and it's beautiful, but I want those metallic ones. Can you touch upon why some lights only come out in certain areas?
Part of it is, do we have retailers that are keen to have this big portfolio of lights on their shelves and to really show it, especially with these more design integrated fixtures. People want to be able to go see it in a retail environment. In the US, they tend to be a bit more conservative about how much they want to put on shelf. 10 meters, 10 yards of different luminaires that a consumer can go look at. So I think that's a driving part. I do think we got quite a lot of feedback from the most recent announcements, the limited edition Iris, the big filaments. So I think we will look into maybe doing, even if that retail situation is not perfectly addressed, doing something online only to at least have them be available. But I think that's the major reason, right? We need to have the right retail footprint so people can actually go buy these things. And for integrated fixtures, that's less well developed for connected products in US. It's getting there. We're doing more and more. We launched all the outdoor stuff in retail earlier this year. So it's getting there. They're having success, so they will broaden it over time.
And then if I were to say have like a friend in Europe who could get the Iris and send it to me with a converter, would it work?
The Iris, you'll be okay.
Okay.
So the Iris, you can just put a different plug converter in. The integrated ones is more complicated because those are mostly made for the different voltage. But the Iris actually does have a universal power supply. So
good to know. And then my last question, the gradient light strip, I'm absolutely in love. If there was one feature that you could add, what would that be?
What I would love to do for the gradient light strip is have it do more when you're not watching TV. I think at the moment we are limiting the capability of the hardware. And so that for me is top priority to address. There are beautiful things you can do for scene setting, which we're not tapping into with our consumers yet. So I think that's our top priority.
Good to hear. I'm excited to see what else you have in store. I think one thing I love about Philips Hue is that when I buy a product from Philips Hue, I know like it only gets better over time, you know? Especially products like that and the Hue Sync box. It's like there's constant software updates with great abilities.
I'm super proud that the original Hue bulb from way back in 2012, like still getting updates today. It got the entertainment capabilities, it got power on modes. We're still able to future-proof these products, you know, even 8 years down the line. I think I'm super proud that we're able to do that.
Thank Hue so much. Sorry, I had to throw a Hue pun in there. I'm the king of Hue puns. Thank you so much for talking to me today. I really appreciate it. It definitely clarified a bunch, and I'm looking forward to everything you have in store for us.
You're welcome. Keep cranking out the great content. We love it.
I will. So there you have it. I hope that answered some questions that you had about the Hue Bridge and connecting it to voice assistants. It definitely answered some of mine. I'm so glad that my makeshift interview station, brought to you by Philips Hue boxes, worked out. Definitely want to do this again. Stay tuned. I've got a lot more Philips Hue coming your way. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Click that bell for alerts so you don't miss it when a video comes out. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. I'm Justin, and I'll tech you later. Sorry.